listen to what I gotta say. Remember in that book what it said about the monster? You can only scare him with two things, silver bullets and blessed iron. Well, we ain't got neither, so there's only one thing we can do, and that's to get tough. Plenty tough, see? What do we do with the fellas back home when he stepped out of line?
Knock him out.
Exactly. That's what we're gonna do with that vulture and the little termite that hangs out with him. Get it?
Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Tunny here. Uncle Todd and Sonny here. And as you can see by my Camp Crystal Lake cap, we are heading into summer. And to start off, we got a film about a bunch of almost 30-year-olds playing teenagers going off to a summer camp against their will. It's one of the East Side Kids films. For more on their basic history, please go look at the video on Masterminds, in which I detailed their entire iteration from the Dead End Kids to splitting off into Little Tough Guys and the East Side Kids, and then the East Side Kids morphing into the Bowery Boys. This iteration included Hans Hall, who had been one of the Little Tough Guys but came over to the East Side Kids as the Tough Guys kind of petered out. And of course has the other two Dead End Kid originals, Bela Lugosi and Bobby Jordan. And with him is, of course, Leo's brother David, as well as, let's see if I can get his name here. Where is he? Oh yeah, Donald Haynes. This would be his last film in the group, as he would join the military after this. Bobby Jordan had a brief time in the military too. In fact, one of the later East Side Kid films, before they morphed over into Bowery Boys, centered around his return, and he was constantly trying to catch up to the rest of the gang as they were going through one of their adventures. Of course, probably the oldest actor in this, kid-wise, is Ernest Morrison, who is billed as Sunshine Sammy Morrison. He was one of the original Our Gang actors back in their silent days. And of course, as with all of them, he aged out and then went into a careers, mostly character and bit parts. And he was one of the longer running regulars in the East Side Kids, but did not make the transfer over to the Bowery Boys. Now, at this time in their history, they were moving more and more over into straight comedy as they got older. It was absolute farcical by the time they became the Bowery Boys, because they were all well in their 30s at that point. But when they started as East Side Kids, being still relatively young in their early 20s and able to still pass as a bit younger, their East Side Kid films kind of morphed and bounced around between social commentary films that they had made for Warner Brothers in the Dead End Kid series, as well as some comedies, sometimes action films. They would get involved in crime capers, and at one point they were even fighting Axis agents in a few. Most interesting, for me anyways, was that Gabriel Dell, who had been over again with the Little Tough Guys, would pop up in some of the East Side Kid films as a bad guy. In Bowery Blitzkrieg, he played a German agent with accent. And Mr. Wise Guy, he was part of a rival gang in the reform school they got sent to. But this is Spooks Run Wild, which is the first of two Bela Lugosi films he made with the group, and the second of his 9-picture deal he had with Sam Katzman. Also included is Dorothy Short and her husband, Richard O'Brien, who, for more of his history, go back to my review of The Devil Bat. And we also have the great Angelo Rosito, who, for his history, once again, Dracula versus Frankenstein review. I think that covers about everybody. We open with the kids being rounded up by the police so that they can go to camp, which I guess that's a regular thing they would do back in the 40s, maybe?
Hey, you cops, stop pushing me! I'm trying to beat the Catskills! I'm telling you! I'm telling you! This guy's too serious.
Well, we got your boys for you. Thanks, officer. They might be underprivileged, but they sure ain't underdeveloped.
I guess they got us, Muggs.
Take a couple of squad cars and these Dick Tracy bracelets.
Yes, underprivileged, a.k.a. poor. And they're going off to see the beauty of nature, things they haven't seen before. Much that they don't want to do it, but they're kind of forced into it. Then, during a stop at the town to get supplies before they head on to the campground, Muggs, Danny, and Glimpy spy something in a soda shop that interests them.
Oh, that's what I thought. Give me a root beer.
Alrighty. And what do you have?
I'll have a demi-tasse and a large cup of black coffee.
A what?
I'll have a root beer, too.
And what'll you have?
You.
Well, we'll say one thing for Muggs. He gets right to the point. After some more friendly bantering, flirting, we get our first major plot point.
Announcement to listeners near Hillside and Colton. All citizens are warned to be on the lookout for the monster killer, who is believed to be in this vicinity. This maniac has left a trail of 3 inhuman murders and is believed heading upstate.
Okay. We are going to have to keep that in mind. After some more flirting with the, what you call her, soda jerk? Waitress. Oh, her name is Margie. Anyways, there's a bit of slapstick as they almost miss the bus as it pulls out, and we learn that the mayor is berating the sheriff because he just heard the broadcast and he wants him to be on the alert. We then get some romantic scenes between O'Brien and Short as they are a engaged couple, and blah 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 blah. It really doesn't have much to do with the film. Then that night, as the boys get ready for bed, the local gas station is headed outside of town. It gets a couple of mysterious visitors.
Billings Estate is.
The Billings Estate? Why, it ain't been lived in for 10 years. Not since old man Billings was murdered in his sleep.
Interesting. But you were about to tell me where it was.
Oh, sure. It's up there. I know you. I know who he is, too.
He?
The monster. He was here just a second ago, just now. The radio said he was coming and he's here.
And you know who I am?
Of course. I read about you in this book. You're Dr. Von Grosch, and you've come here to save us from him.
You know, you really shouldn't be reading Dracula when monsters are in the area, you know? Anyways, he tells Von Grosch where the monster went, and Von Grosch promises him to secrecy. Otherwise, the monster might be alerted to his presence. Man readily agrees. Now, our monster and his companion, before going up to the Billings Estate, they take a brief stop at a cemetery to pay their respects to one of the residents.
What are you doing here?
You're not rugged, it's true.
Okay, maybe he is a monster. But I gotta say, that is one trigger-happy caretaker. I'm sure that won't come into the plot at all at any point, don't you?
Perhaps.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Anyways, Muggsy, thinking he's got a date with Margie, sneaks out of camp, followed by Danny and Glimpy, who are in turn followed by Pee-wee, Skinny, and Screwno. And then we get a little slapstick because they all gather. They think they're being followed, they set a trap, you know, usual hijinks. But wouldn't you know it, they end up trying to cut through the very same graveyard.
Stop! After you catch me, I'll stop.
I've had worse.
Oh no! Pee-wee got winged! They're gonna need to get him somewhere to get help. Where could they go? Hey, there's that spooky old place up there. Maybe they can help.
Well, look, our buddy here's been hurt. We was going through the cemetery taking a shortcut to town and somebody took a pot shot at him.
How unfortunate. He should lie down.
Don't you think we ought to get a doctor?
Perhaps later. Come with me.
Little suspicious, but I'm sure he knows what he's doing. I mean, after they get him up into a room and he shoos them out for he can patch him up, he doesn't do anything suspicious. Okay, maybe a little suspicious. But meanwhile, downstairs, while they're waiting for the owner to patch up their pal, Muggs gets a little bit of a fright.
What's the matter?
There's a skeleton in there. He was slapping right in my face.
Yeah, what's he so happy about?
Very funny.
Of course, when they all look, it's not there. Anyway, when they go to see Pee-wee, he's asleep. Apparently, the old guy gave him a sedative, but he'll be happy to put them up for the night. He's got plenty of spare rooms. So they reluctantly agree, and Screwno is left to watch over Pee-wee. Back at the camp, the nurse has discovered that the boys are all gone, and she goes to see her fiance, but he's not really all that concerned or worried. You know, they'll come back after a while, or they'll end up in town. He'll get them in the morning, but that's not good enough for her, and she goes out to look on her own. Women. Am I right, fellas? Yeah, I didn't think so either. Anyways, we cut back to the old mansion and see what's happening with Pee-wee.
Don't you hear me talking to you, Pee-wee? What's the matter with him?
That's a good question. Now, fortunately, Screwno got locked in. Meanwhile, downstairs, Muggs finds an interesting book.
It says here that
In the night, he prowls about seeking new victims. And in the daytime, he sleeps in a coffin.
Well, let's wait till daytime, huh?
We ain't waiting for nothing. We're going right now.
Luigi, our guests must not leave the house.
Well, things don't look too good for the kids, do they? Well, they go up, let Scruno out, and then when the old man pops up, well, they want to know what's going on, but he's got a perfectly logical explanation about everything.
You're weary, and you see things not as they are, but as your imagination paints them for you. I suggest that you all retire and that Luigi and myself look for your friend. He cannot have gone for her.
Well, maybe you're right. I think I got hallucinations, huh?
In the horde. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Well, what do you say, fellas? We all get a good night's sleep and talk about it after breakfast, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Horror Man. I just wanted to collect.
Hi, Kiba.
Collect on this one guy.
Come on, fellas, let's go. Come on, hurry up.
I'll warn that guy.
Yeah, it's locked. He'll never get out of there.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he won't.
Perhaps.
Anyway, we now get into the fun horror hijinks. That's the rigor for this kind of film.
Muggs, I want to get out of here. I don't like this place. This place ain't... Oh, get out of here! And look here, tobacco can. Don't bother me. I don't smoke, so I ain't bothering you. That's all right. Hey, Scruno, look! I don't see it. I don't see that. Yeah, there's two of them. Okay, I give up. I give up.
Turns out it was Muggs and Limpy in the two suits of armor. Well, while all that's been going on, the fiance, who did not want to go look for the kids, is getting a little concerned now that his fiance, the nurse, has not returned, so he goes to town, where they learn that there's stuff going on at the Billings estate. And while that's happening, the nurse runs into this helpful passerby.
You are the young lady from the camp?
Why, yes.
There's a mad killer in the Billings house, and your boys, the boys who are missing from your camp, are there and in his power.
No.
I'm going to their rescue now.
Then I'm going with you.
You will follow my orders to the letter?
Of course.
Good girl.
Okay, we got everybody converging on the house now. But Muggsy and the guys, they think they'll just handle this themselves, the way they did back in the old neighborhood.
It is you who has made a mistake, my friend. For years, you have wantonly taken the lives of millions. So, I am going to take yours. No!
those knots good and tight.
Hey, Musha, let him have it.
What are you, kidding? Leave him for the cops.
Oh, let me punch his skin. Stay up to there, huh?
You heard me the first time.
Well, if he's getting out of locked rooms, how's the rope's going to hold him? Well, anyways, they go to get Pee-wee, and he's back in the room. He's awake, and he's got no idea what they've been going through, and he has no memory of walking around the whole place. And then the posse arrives. Although they aren't carrying torches, unless you count flashlights, and we make an amazing discovery.
The whole story. We was all going to town, seeing we decided to take a shortcut through a cemetery when some drunk takes a pot shot at Pee-wee and clips him, so we brought him up here to get him all fixed up. At first we thought this was a haunted house, but it's not. And if it is, he ain't haunting it, because we thought he was a monster too. But like I said, he's not. Just a magician. And a very good one too.
Oh, that explains everything. Except why he got so upset and said they couldn't leave the house. Well, while that's been going on, the nurse and Von Grosch sneak into the house themselves, and they get into a room upstairs, and then we get another shocking reveal. Why, he was the monster the whole time.
This just about solves the mystery.
No, it solves the whole thing. Anyway, she screams, and they hear it, and they rush up. The door's locked, and then Muggsy decides to take an alternate route over the roof to take care of matters. While he's handling that, the nurse unlocks the door, and the monster is captured and taken away. And we end with a little impromptu magic show by our magician friend.
Forget that's my girlfriend.
All right. No harm. She just disappears.
Gonna bring her back?
I hope.
Nice trick. But Muggsy thinks he's got it figured out.
And I'll have her.
Oh, delighted.
What talent.
I got her, Professor. Oh, have I got her?
Hey, you can't end a haunted house comedy without a gag at the end. You know, I think there's only one thing this film was missing.
You're doomed. You're all doomed.
Yeah, nobody came up and said that to anybody at this point. Not even the gas station attendant. If you saw the review I did of the Masterminds, the Bowery Boys film, you'll probably notice this is a little more rough-hewn, lower budgeted, not as tightly scripted, and that was pretty common for Monogram at that point. Around, I believe, 44 to 45, they finally decided to up their budgets. This was also around the time they got the Charlie Chan films, and those, along with the Bowery Boys, became their big sellers. And the Bowery Boys even continued on into the 50s, where they company had changed itself to Allied Artists, and kind of got in on the whole 50s giant monsters craze. Anyway, as I said, this is not as tightly scripted, and there is a lot of impromptu lines that the gang would throw out, you know, kind of improvising as they went along, and there weren't as many malapropisms as Bowery Boys would have, but you know, there's a few here and there. But Of the two films Lugosi made with the East Side Kids, this is the better one. It's got a better script. It's a more typical haunted house film, and Lugosi gets much more interaction with the gang. The second one, he was a German spy. He popped up in the beginning and was in like maybe the last 15 minutes. And most of it was them dealing with the other spies. That plot revolved around Glimpy's sister was getting married, and he had this little cottage, and it was next to this big old house, and the gang misinterpreted something the boyfriend said, and so they were going to clean the place up for him, but they got the address mixed up, and they go to the mansion instead of the little house next door. And then there's a lot of haunted house stuff as the spies try to kick them out. Like I said, it's not as good as this one. Some of the haunted house gags are funnier, and Lugosi may or may not have shouted a swear word in the middle of one scene. Not sure. Maybe a year or two when I get around to that one, we'll see. But I kind of like this one the better of the two. I like the whole mirroring of Dracula, where you've got the one guy coming in, the magician, and then you got this guy following him. But then it turns out he wasn't really following him. That was the gas station attendant misunderstanding things because he'd been reading Dracula. And the monster just going along with it. And I like his reveal at the end. Dennis Moore, as the professor / monster, does a pretty good job. He wasn't known for that. He was a Western and action hero. Did several serials like The Purple Monster Strikes and The Master Key and Mysterious Mr. M, and did a lot of Westerns. He was usually teamed up with, I believe... I cannot remember. Anyway, he was usually billed as Smokey Moore, because, you know, all Western good guys have to have a nickname like that. And yeah, like I say, he gives a pretty good performance. Richard O'Brien and Dorothy Short really don't have much to do with this. It's mostly the East Side Kids, and that's okay. Their subplot really isn't that important. And it basically just adds time to the film and gets a good denouement at the end with the reveal of the professor. Most of the film, for me, it really doesn't get going until after they show up to the house, and then the film really gets good. There's a lot of running around, a lot of fake jump scares, and the cast, they play well off each other. A lot of them have been doing this for like 13, 14 years at this point. And so, you know, they had good chemistry, a lot of them. But, you know, all in all, it's a really fun little film. It's one of those films used to play on double bills in a lot of neighborhood theaters. And, you know, they had their fans, the East Side Kids and Lugosi. So it was natural that they would be teamed up since they're both making films for the same company. And like I said, this is probably the better of the two he did with them, and is probably one of the better ones of his 9. Although I think my personal favorite is The Invisible Ghost, where he played a rather friendly doctor who would go into these spells and would kill people around his house. Yeah. You know, that old chestnut. But, yeah, this is a fun film. And one of the better East Side Kid films. Comedy-wise, I do enjoy Bowery Blitzkrieg and some of the others that were a little more action-packed. But for haunted house comedies, this is probably their best. Although my favorite of the entire run would probably be Spookbusters, where they played that's a Bowery Boys film where they played an extermination group that gets mixed up with a mad scientist in a haunted house. But yeah, fun film, and one I think most fans of the genre would enjoy. Please hit like, share, and subscribe, and as always, stay after the credits for my favorite scene, where it turns out, much like in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Lugosi knows how to spin a line to make it funny.
Forgive me if I startled you. You would perhaps like this candle. Good night.